And welcome back to the Dean Obeidallah Show. Right now, very happy to have on the show Lorraine Bracco, award-winning actress. You know her as Dr. Jennifer Melfi in the series The Sopranos. She got Academy Award nomination for performance in Goodfellas, and so much more. And now she's headlining, one of the headliners of an event this Sunday to help Vice President Harris, titled Paisans for Kamala, and includes people like Nancy Pelosi, Alyssa Milano, Anthony Scaramucci, and more. Lorraine, welcome to the show. It's such a treat to meet you.
You're very sweet, Dean. Thank you. That's very nice.
So first of all, paisans for combo. Like I'm half Italian. I know what a paisan is. I grew up in Jersey. It was a paisan, paisano. What, just so people know, simply, what does paisan mean?
It means friend.
So these are
It's as
friends.
simple as that.
It's and there's paisano for male and paisana, I think, for a female. I looked it up, and I'm also half Arab, so there's Habibi and Habibti. So
I love it,
there's
Habibi.
right Habibi. So we have all these fun things going on. By the way, I saw that you're Sicilian on your dad's side, and
Correct.
I'm Sicilian on my mom's side.
So
And
you got better cooking than I did.
well, my mom, no, my dad was a cook, a chef. That's what my
Oh,
dad, he
well,
did.
then.
So he cooked. My mom tasted the food. But by the way, sincerely, are Sicilians a little my mom would always say, remember, you're not Italian, you're Sicilian. And it was sort of like kidding a little, but not completely. Are Sicilians different than compared to regular Italians in terms of who they are and their identity as a person?
I mean, I'm going to say yes. I can't give you specifics, but yes, I do believe that the Sicilian culture is I'm going to say this, but I don't think I really mean it, less sophisticated.
Hmm.
I think that, the northern Italy is more industrial, where Sicily is more agricultural.
Right.
Um, and I think the history of Sicily is phenomenal. We had all of the Arab invasion.
Hmm.
I mean, architecturally, Sicily is unbelievable. Really, it's incredible,
And you do your
and
show
it
there.
goes
You
back thousands and thousands and thousands of years. I don't think people realize all the different, cultures that invaded Sicily to make it what it is. But the North is more fashion,
Mhm.
industry. Um, it's just much more. By the way, that's why everyone from Sicily moves to the North so that they can work.
Sure, or
So
they come to
there
America.
is that. So yes, it's a different. It's just a different culture. It really is.
And for me, the difference is less there and more here, and that Sicilian Americans, in like my cousins and stuff, would be difficult and do things be really difficult. And they go, "I do that because I'm Sicilian." I'm like, "No, you're just being difficult. That's what you're doing." Like don't bring in your heritage to defend why you're being difficult to me or doing something like. But my mom very much taught us everyone's out to get you. Don't trust anybody. That
Okay,
was the
well, yeah.
Sicilian mentality.
So, I'll tell you something funny that has got nothing to do with that really. But when I bought a €1 house in Sicily,
Mhm.
and my neighbor knocked on the door, this adorable little old lady, and she said, all my family moved to Brooklyn. And I said, well, that's where I'm from. I'm from Brooklyn. And it was an amazing thing how many Sicilians came over uh, uh, um, before the war, right after the war, and came to Brooklyn.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
My on my mom's side, my grandparents came like early 1900s, and they came just to not to Brooklyn. They came to more of a Manhattan, lower Manhattan, and then they went to
Uh-huh.
Jersey. They immigrated to New Jersey,
Right.
as we joke. And I'm chatting with Lorraine Bracco, and you did that whole HDTV series, my show, My Big Italian Adventure, about
Yeah.
building and renovating the
That
house in
was
Jersey.
crazy, but yes, it was great.
So let's talk about politics here. You're involved with Paisans for Kamala, and you're not a stranger to politics. We were talking earlier. You had done things for Mike Bloomberg when he was running for president in 2020. What compelled you to get involved, though, with Vice President Harris in this event?
Well, really, Mike Bloomberg is the first person I ever went to campaign for.
Mhm.
I never really got into it, and I swore to myself that when Al Gore lost, I felt compelled that I owed myself to get involved and ask people to vote.
Hmm.
I think that's the most important thing, that people vote. um, I'm not an expert, but and I didn't really do a lot for Biden, and thank God he won, in my opinion.
Hmm.
But I think with this election, I think there's so many women's rights that are going to be ripped away from us, that I felt that it's very important. So really, Kamala definitely has, for me, she's on the right track of banning any abortion laws. Uh, the fact that she's wants to have some kind of gun sense,
Yep.
um, I think is very important, especially now, just after these more mass shootings. We need to get we need to get a fucking grip.
We do.
And I think that I felt I owed it to myself and to my grandchildren to know that I fought for the right thing, for their rights, to go to school and not be afraid,
Hmm.
uh, uh, to have a choice, um, uh, for anything they need to do in their life, reproduction rights. I just felt that I owed it to them and to myself. So this is why I'm doing this Paisan for Kamala, who I think is terrific. And I often said, somebody asked me, what did Kamala do as a vice president? And I said, I'm going to be honest. I really don't know.
Hmm.
And I started to dig, and I was like, oh, okay. Um, uh, the vice president does have a lot to do. She did do a lot. She did make decisions. She did fight for immigration, for the people in the banks to get their money when everything went sour, uh, with all the bank loans, with the housing, with housing
Hmm.
collapse.
Right.
She did a lot of things. I love that she's a prosecutor.
Hmm.
I think I think that that will serve her well, being a president. And when she took Tim for vice president, I was really kind of surprised that she picked, you know, a, a dad, who was a teacher and a coach. I mean, I think this is what America is about. It's not about billionaires and and Wall Street.
Hmm.
For me, that's not America. It's a part of it, but because it's so financially powerful, uh, people get lost. And I think that those roots, that's my roots,
Hmm.
middle class family, working dad, stay home mom. Uh, uh, those are my roots. And I think that, I mean, that's what we're about. My father was an immigrant. My mother was an immigrant from London. He married her in London. He met her right after the war, World War II. He met her at a USO dance,
Wow.
and so she came over on the Queen Elizabeth. I mean, we're all immigrants. I don't care where you're really from, but God knows this is the land of opportunity. I believe that with my soul.
I agree with you. And My dad is an immigrant from the Middle East. My mom was born here, but her first language was Italian. And so I'm really on some level the child of an immigrant and a half, because my mom is like half of an immigrant. And so when Donald Trump demonizes immigrants, to me, it's not political. It's very personal. It's the
It's
idea,
but what he says is horrible.
right?
They're rapists.
Yeah,
They're no, they're not. They're only people trying to look. Like we know, this is a huge country, and we have a little bit of everything here.
right,
All right, let's be honest. It is
right.
it is what it is. But to condemn an entire Latino culture as being rapist and this and that, and it's really kind of despicable, in my opinion. And people believe it. That's the worst part, in my opinion.
I agree. And on my father's side, that my family's Muslim. So when Trump wanted to do his Muslim ban in 2016,
Yeah,
it affects everything. And believe me, if Trump was around when my grandparents from Sicily were coming, he would have demonized them, because they were right-wing people then
of
who
course.
demonized the
Didn't
Italians,
speak English.
and they're Catholics, like they were
Yeah,
very, same
yeah,
exact idea.
yeah.
We're living with it again.
It's very true, and it's really sad, because the truth of the matter is they all built, our parents and grandparents built this country.
Hmm. I agree. I'm chatting with Lorraine Bracco, actress and one of the headliners of Paisans for Kamala, this Sunday online. At the end, I'll give the information people want to see about it. By the way, what do you hope comes from Paisans for Kamala? Because we don't hear Italian Americans yeah, the Italian American Democrats that a mutual friend of ours, John, who I know for a long time, is involved with and stuff. But, a lot of other minority groups get much more politically active as a group to try to have an impact. Italian Americans don't do that much anymore. Are you
Well,
hoping?
weren't they basically Republican?
Somewhere. Depends where you are. I
I
have
think
cousins, depends who you talk to.
I think that, my father was definitely a Republican. I don't
Ah,
believe, and my brother was Republican. I don't believe today they feel the same way. I think, it's a crazy story. I mean, I remember when uh, John F. Kennedy was shot, and my father leaned against the wall and sobbed.
wow.
He sobbed. They shot the president. He could not believe it. He was heartbroken. It was the first time I ever saw my father cry, sob. And I think he was a Reagan guy.
Mhm.
He was a Bush guy. But I don't believe today, having girl children and grandchildren,
Right.
he would vote Republican.
And that's what we hope. I mean, my mom was, and then in Jersey, the Italians there I knew, because there are more Democrats now, but not just recent eras. It wasn't intellectual liberalism, it was more visceral. It was the idea of just let people live their lives. Why do you get involved? Why do you have to attack these people or demonize them or pass laws to control their lives? I love the Jersey liberalism. New York, it's more intellectual. Here's the Fourth Amendment. We talk about things and penumbras. Jersey's like, give the guy a break. What's he doing? Stop busting his balls. He's living his life. Okay. That's the Jersey. So I love that
It's
Jersey
true.
liberalism. And that's the Italian American part that I
Well,
hear in
listen,
Jersey.
I had two bosses from New Jersey, Bruce Springsteen and then James Gandolfini. So yes.
That's it. So and before we run out of time, I wanted to touch on this weekend on HBO, just a coincidence to all of this, a brand new two-part documentary, Wise Guy, David Chase and The Sopranos. Obviously, David Chase, if people don't know, was the creator of The Sopranos. And they actually shot it. I saw you're in it, but the clips of it are shot in Dr. Melfi's old office. I mean, they rebuilt it.
Yes.
So when you look back, what jumps out? Like, what's your fondest memories? And it's imagine there's so much from being on that show that was iconic. I loved it. I remember every week, every Sunday, I think it was, or Tuesday, watch it. And I just rewatched it recently, a few months ago.
My thoughts are we did good.
Yeah. But is there any one I've had little Stevie on, Stevie Van
Sure.
Zandt, because he's Italian Jersey guy like me, and he loves politics. So he's been on a few times. We talked about politics and stuff. I haven't ever talked to him about The Sopranos, though. I've only talked about music and politics. But when you look back, you guys did an amazing job. Is it at
So,
all
I mean,
unexpected that
I
25 years
only
later?
worked with Jimmy basically for the whole series.
Wow.
So of course, my fond memory is, of course, of Jimmy, every episode. Uh, and I love and adore him. But one of the great things is when I met David Chase, he was interested in meeting me for Carmela.
Hmm.
And I told him I already played Carmela. I don't really want to do her. I want to play Dr. Melfi. And he was taken back. And I said, listen, I have two reasons. One, I feel Tony Soprano would not talk to anybody who was not Italian, who was not from
Hmm.
his neighborhood. Let's put it that way. And the other thing is I've never seen really an Italian American on a television or movies. I wanted to that we have that we're not just one thing, a mom, a cook,
Hmm.
a chef. I really wanted to show that, you know, there were a tremendous amount of American Italian women who are incredibly educated. So there was that. And the other thing is I'm so honored because and Jimmy and I were really surprised, I think, by how many men went into therapy after seeing Tony in therapy. Hundreds, thousands of men went to therapy. And the entire American psychiatric uh, 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 industry was really shocked at how powerful that was for them.
And in the series, they even had those discussions where should he be in therapy? The other guys, like his uncle and stuff, and there's the negative thing, and then you saw the positive thing and how it helped him. Did you ever get an honorary doctorate from anyone from being Dr. Melfi?
Yale.
You did from Yale? That's a good one. You should put a shingle out. Start having my sister's a psychologist, and so is her husband. He's a treating psychologist. So there's a lot. It was weird having my sister's a psychologist. A lot of stuff is like, you have issues with your mother. I'm like, yes, we have the same mother. Of course I have issues with my mother. How could you tell me? Of course I know. So you got honored. That's pretty cool. So look, it's a great thing. That's happening this
By
week
the way,
on.
I watched the series. The documentary. It's fantastic. If you enjoyed The Sopranos, you are gonna be riveted.
And one last thing, I mean, I remember scenes that you were in talking about the representation of Italian Americans in the media. And
Yeah,
I guess that was important to David Chase. And I so appreciate that because look, people forget there was a time Italian Americans it was not like, oh, they were mobsters and it was cool, like today in a way, on some odd level.
you're right.
It
You're
was
right.
dangerous for them. They got discriminated against and beaten
A-
up. And, I'm like,
Absolutely.
so,
Absolutely. And I think David was pressured maybe a little bit into showing that he got a lot of, it's funny. We both know people, Italian American, who did not like The Sopranos, who
mhm.
felt that it was not right. And I went to my father, who was a fishmonger down in the Fulton Fish Market, and I said to him, "Are you embarrassed? Does this hurt you in any way?" You know, and he looked at me, goes, "Lorraine, it's a TV show." I said, "Okay," and that's all that mattered to me.
That's a great point. And for me, this is not even a joke. This is real. My Sicilian mom, because I'm not going to say there were some people in my family that may have been in trouble. We would watch things like if Goodfellas was on, or like the Godfather, especially be like, your grandfather knew that guy. I'm like, that's not a real person. She goes, no, he knew him. And this is all
Yeah,
the
yeah,
time. This
yeah,
is the kind
yeah.
of thing. Like she goes, I'm like, all right, well, maybe let's not talk about this out loud too
Well,
much. And
let's put it this way. Think about it. It wasn't a huge community
right.
down in downtown New York. I know that I'm sure that my grandfather and your grandfather probably knew each other somehow. That's or grandmother,
Sure.
mother or grandmother. It wasn't as spread out as it is now. It was really tight. Yeah. You
No, it's
bought
very
you
true.
you bought your groceries from the Italian guy. You got your fish from the Italian guy. It was a very tight knit community.
Certainly. And then growing up in North Jersey in Lodi, we were first in
Same
Lodi,
thing.
which was very Italian.
Sure.
The big fair and
Yeah.
involved in the church. My
Yeah.
grandfather did all that kind of stuff. So, and I would say to my mom, was my one uncle ever involved in stuff? And I swear to God, she goes, who's asking? I'm like, I'm asking. I'm your son, mom. I just want to know because the Sicilian mindset of don't trust anyone except for your family. It's kind of remarkable. But Lorraine, it was great meeting you again. The event online, Paisans for Kamala. If people want to, you can sign up online, and there's really great people. My friend Paul Mercurio is a comedian's involved, but Anthony Scaramucci, Nancy Pelosi, Alyssa Milano, and others. People can watch it online. If they go to Italian American Democrats online and sign there. And also, when I'll post it on social media with the link if people want to register and check it out. And Lorraine, of course, will be in that. But Lorraine, it's great meeting you. Such
Same
a
here,
pleasure
Dean.
speaking to you. I've been watching you for years and stuff. And let's win this election because the stakes are so high for your grandchildren and
That's right.
everyone's families out there. And I look forward to hopefully get to chat with you in the future again.
All right. Thank
Take
you,
care.
Dean.
Have a great day.